Hello and good evening. And I'm so happy to have you here with us tonight at Healers Enlightened Network. Tonight, we are going to talk about poultices and a basic care kit, but it's going to be just a little bit more than that. So, how we begin things is we're going to do a little bit different today because I always like to give you different things. So, first, I want you to take in some deep breaths and find your peace. We're going to call in the Lord Jesus Christ. We're going to call in his angels. We're going to call in the choir. We're going to call in Mother Mary. We're going to call in all of our guides and all of our ancestors that need to be present at this time. And we ask that the divine work through us and we are connected. Now, I want us to connect as a group because I'm going to release for you can absorb. So we're going to do a little group healing. So I just want you to smile, your beautiful smiles. Come on, Jeffy. I know you don't feel good. And let's go in and let's see what we can release to help us receive what we're going to have. Okay, there's a little bit of nervousness. So let's go ahead and release the adrenaline, the cortisol, and the noradrenaline. And we're just going to ask God to just drift us with white light, peace and honor and humility. That's balance. Another one. Toxic sound. Tear. So we're going to remove the tear. Just let it go off your shoulders. Let it go off your face. Just let it go. If you're feeling it right now in your body somewhere, where is it at? And why is it there? Are you feeling the fear of being able to be accepted to allow this to occur? Let's let that release. Take in a deep breath and blow it out for me, please. There's another toxin. And it's an antiseptic wipe, and we can't get away from those. So we're just going to remove that off of everybody and just ask that the Lord just allow that and take that. And he said, we are set to go. Beautiful. Everybody just take a deep cleansing breath and let it right back out. And we're going to go right into the share. I have quite a bit for you. Oh, and this is up here. Let's see. I don't know if I know how to move this and be able to start the slideshow. There we go. Haha, I got it right this time. Oops, except I left this in the middle. How about that? I'm learning new things all the time. So this is webinar 135. And here we go. And why isn't it working? There we go. So the first thing we're going to talk about are poultices. Does everybody know what a poultice is? You kind of do. So. Okay. Now remember that poultices can be made from just not capsules or oils or liquids, but they can be made from fresh herbs also. So the herbs need to be chopped or blended in a blender and add just a little bit of mineral oil to them to help them to stick together and break down, because you don't want big pieces. And we always use poultices externally, never internally. Now I have several things in here. The mineral oil you can use, but I want you to muscle test whether these go in. And this is what this is all about. So you want to test, is the mineral oil what is required for the highest good of this poultice? Or is it vitamin E? And sometimes vitamin E is very helpful in poultices. It helps hold it together. Do you need aloe vera? Aloe vera is very healing for poultices. And with some poultices, I even add extra virgin olive oil because they get so sticky and so hard to move around. And when I do mine, I mix mine with the powders in a little cauldron like this, a little pedestal, There's several different kinds. Now, if you're using dry herbs, you do not want to use a bowl that it can absorb into, because they will absorb into that bowl and then it'll absorb into your next one. And I didn't bring that bowl up and I apologize, but it's made of like a plaster material, but you just blend it down and you get it really fine. And then you start adding your other products. So make sure you start with a very small amount and move up, and make sure you're muscle testing the whole way. Now, I have also used slippery elm within the poultices, depending on what the poultice is for, just for the simple fact that it helps hold it together if it's not being held. Sometimes I apply Partiarco. We can use poultices for so many things that could help us in so many ways. So remember, when you apply a poultice, does everybody know what cheesecloth is? Okay. It needs to be clean and sterile. Everything always sterile. So when you use the poultice, you make it up, you spread it on there, or you spread it on your arm, wrap the cheesecloth around wherever the imbalance is. Okay. And then you cover the poultice with plastic, because that stuff, when it comes out, it gets all over your clothes, all over your sheets, because you're going to leave it on 24 hours each time. You want to change it once a day, depending on the poultice and what you're working on. So remember, and then I also wrap Ace wraps around it because the silky stuff, the sarin wrap that you wrap around it, sometimes doesn't stay on, and you want it to stay on and stay where it needs to be. So you can use them for swelling. You can use them for inflammation of any kind. You can use them for wounds, for burns, for bites, for chest colds. You can chop up onions and garlic and put it, I mean, you're going to stink like the heavens, but it works. And you could put it on your chest and then wrap that chest with it. And in the morning, it'll all be broken up and you'll be coughing all the mucus out. It is amazing how it works. Onions are very healing for that. Excuse me?
Question for you. The one that you had me put on, do you want me to take like a piece of plastic or saran wrap and tape it
No,
over?
you've got it taped well enough that I don't think that you have to worry about it leaching. If it does, Jeff, wrap saran wrap and then wrap an Ace if you can.
I can take like a piece of it and tape it over. I'm not gonna be able to wrap it.
That way it doesn't get all over everything.
Yeah, I'm not worried. If I have to wash everything, I'll wash it. I don't care.
Okay. So remember that poultices can also pull out foreign objects. I've actually had a young lady who was in a car accident and they thought they got all of the glass out of her face. She kept coming to me, Sin, there's a bump here. There's a bump here. So we made just a very small poultice for her cheek. It pulled that piece of glass out of her cheek. Amazingly so. It did leave a scar, but it did pull that piece of glass out. I also had a gentleman that was working on a radiator. The radiator exploded. It was 3rd-degree burns all the way up his arm. He would not go to the hospital. He would not go to the doctor. I could not talk fast enough. You're the doctor. You fix it. I am not a doctor. No. He goes, then can you just do this? And I said, well, if I'm going to do this, then you have to do this the way I state. So you know how much burns hurt? Well, burns, when it comes out of the radiator, it's dirty. Okay. So when you can see the tissue in here and charred skin all around, I scrubbed it because I want it clean. I want all that charred flesh off of there. In 3 days, we did a poultice. On the 3rd day, when we took it off, it looked like a sunburn. And he has no scarring, nothing from it. So poultices work. You have to muscle test which goes in it and which is for what, because everything is different. Not everything's the same. Not every person will be able to utilize the same thing for the poultice. It just all depends on what you're utilizing. So if you want to get an oil book, or an herb book that can help you decide, or just muscle test if you know your herbs well enough. So this is about poultices. Is there any questions?
Don't forget what you did with my finger when I had the infection a couple of months ago.
We pulled that out with a poultice.
Yep.
They works amazing. They do amazing things. I love poultices. I just don't love the smell.
So what are the general things that would go in to a poultice?
Comfrey is one big thing. Aloe is one. Golden seal or something like eucalyptus, but if it's a burn, you don't want it to burn more. So tea tree would be an antibacterial, or thieves. And it just depends on what's going on. Colloidal silver is good to add because that's a natural healer. Olive leaf extract, that's a natural healer. So you want to use things that heal. But like if you're pulling something else, something out, it's a different story of what you're going to use. So it all depends on what's going on at that time or what the poultices are for. If it's for, some other part of your body for a different reason, we'll go over some of these and it'll help you to understand better. Okay. Any more questions at this time? Okay, beautiful. Thank you. Now, I started with abdominal pain. Now, this is upper abdominal pain. If it is severe, you need to go to the doctor. I'm not a doctor. You need to go to the doctor. So on the upper abdominal, so that's clear up here, okay, right where that solar plexus is in the sacral, or I've got it backwards, sacral. So you can apply the oil over the painful area. You want to mix 3 drops of peppermint and 2 drops of clove, and you want to dilute it into a carrier bottle. And we all know what a carrier bottle is, right? I have cobalt ones and I have brown ones. You never want to use a clear one because the emollients can be pulled out. You never want to leave it out on the counter because the emollients can be fried out, burnt out. You don't ever want to take them and shake them. You want to roll them. You don't want to break those emollients up so they do no longer work, because they will no longer work. And you want to keep it up in a dark area so no light gets onto it. So you want to dilute these drops in with it and roll it, like I said, and don't shake it. And then if somebody is allergic to peppermint or can't utilize clove, that's why muscle test, muscle test, muscle test. You can exchange it with eucalyptus or chamomile, but you need to test those too. And if these aren't enough drops, test for how many drops you need. And then once you've got that all made and you've rubbed it together, pour a little bit on your hands and you rub it clockwise on your upper abdominal. Okay, let's get that energy flowing. Any questions on this one? Okay. Now this one is for lower abdominal pain. And again, if the pain is serious, please, I can't say enough, go to the doctor. Now this one uses difference, and we're going to also put it in that 5 ml bottle. You're going to use thyme and eucalyptus. Now thyme, we know, doesn't smell very well, but it works beautifully for abdominal pain. It can be from an upset stomach. It can be from your colon. It can be from your small intestine, your large intestine, your kidneys, the whole 9 yards. There's a lot in there. Your liver. Now, if these don't work, the geranium, I love geranium. It works beautifully with so many things, and peppermint. But remember, the peppermint burns. So if you need to do a patch test, do it somewhere where it, it won't burn their skin, like the back or underneath their arm. Just do a little test to make sure. But remember that each one of these oils also have counterindications when it comes to medicinals and to other herbs. So make sure they are right for the person you're utilizing them with, and make sure that there is no counterindications with any medications, because they can influence both, and we don't want to do that. Any questions on this one? Okay. Now abrasions. We've all had abrasions here and there, and we just go scrub them and they're fine. But this is something else we can do. You want to clean the area with 5 drops of lavender essential oil, and you want to dilute it in a bowl. And I put in a bowl. That's good. We're going to put it in a bowl, not a bowl, but we're going to put in a bowl of warm water. That'll work. And then you want to drop 1 drop of neat. Just drop it right in there. and leave it after you wash it, and then leave that neat. Neat means straight out of the bottle on that area for it to become well, because lavender has such healing properties. Now, if it's a scrape that you get out at the farm or something where something is not kosher, to where something can become infected, then you want to use the tea tree and frankincense. But again, muscle test for which herbs you want to use. Any questions on this one? Now, we can also use other things for abrasions, but this is just one that always works well because lavender works beautiful with everything almost. So abscesses. We've all seen an abscess, right? We all know what they look like. Okay. So when you make a compress, make sure it is sterile. That is so important. And using the following oils, and you want to apply it twice a day. You want to leave it on there a half hour to an hour each time. You want to use lavender, tea tree, and chamomile. Now you can also, if these don't mix with that person, use lemon, sandalwood, and eucalyptus. Just change them out. But again, muscle test that these are appropriate for that person. Does that help? Now, abscesses can be just about anywhere. So be really careful when you're dealing with them. And if they get red streaks, red blotches, you need to go to the doctor. Be very careful. They can become infected really quick. Now, dental abscesses. You can apply a drop of chamomile on a cotton ball and apply it on the inside of your mouth. But you can also put a piece of clove underneath of it and then apply it, because clove will pull the pain. Doesn't taste very good. Spit it out. Don't swallow it. But it will help with the pain and it'll help release it. And then make lavender and tea tree up. 3 drops of lavender, 2 drops of tea tree, and drop it on the jaw and the cheek area of the side that's infected. Do not get it in your eyes. If you ever get an essential oil in your eyes, use milk, turn your head this way and take it this way out. Never inwards, always outwards. And tip your head and keep blinking as you're flushing it with milk, and it'll grab the particles and pull. Don't blot it, don't hold it, because it will burn like wildfire and it can actually imbalance your eyesight if you get too much in there. So be very careful with your hands. Now, if these don't work, again, lemon, geranium, and bergamot. And they all are so interchangeable that they work so beautifully together. Do you have any questions about this one? Okay, beautiful. Now, athlete's foot. A lot of people suffer from this. We can go in on any of these imbalances that I'm going to bring up here today and remove the underlying imbalance of what is causing it. Okay, but we still need to help the outside. Now, athlete's foot. There's so many imbalances with athlete's foot. But the subconscious, when they get this, is, why am I stuck? What is, where is my future heading? So you have to remember there's subconscious things with each one of these things. So when you have an athlete foot, you want to make up a mixture of 2 drops of tea tree and 1 drop of lavender into a little bowl. And then you want to dip a cotton ball and you want to spread it all over those toes. Throw that cotton ball away. If you've got enough left, dip another new cotton ball and spread it on. And then after it dissipates a little bit, you can make up a massage oil to go over, and you want to go out and you use tea tree because it's antifungal, antibacterial, anti-everything. Tea tree has 101 uses, and you want to use lemon to pull that out. And it can get worse before it gets better. And remember, your diet will need to be changed a little bit when it comes to athlete foot. And we need to remove some of that GMO and processed food. You can also utilize thyme or lavender or hyssop in exchange, because some people cannot use these other ones. And sometimes it will burn if their athlete's foot is really bad. So is there any questions on this one? You can also make a soak if you've got a foot bath. You can also make a soak and put your foot in there and then do this afterwards. And you can even put thieves in the water then, and it will just work all the way through. And remember, reflexology will bring us whatever that's coming out to bring that back in and bring it back into wellness, because you can get rid of athlete's foot. You don't need to be on all this stuff that they have people on. There's a reason you have it, and there's a reason that we can get rid of it. But most people aren't aware that there's emotions, or when it's dealing with feet, it's which foot is going to take me where. So you have to remember that. Is there any questions with this one? You okay? Okay, thank you. Now, black eyes. Most people just let black eyes go and don't do anything with them, right? Well, you can actually dilute 1 drop of geranium with 1 drop of chamomile in 2 teaspoons of witch hazel. And you can put it on those little sterile pads and apply it to the eye. And it works really well to dissipate the black eye. And you can actually, now black eyes always get swollen, we know. So you want to put a little ice on there and mix those cotton balls well and put it on there. It feels so good. Yes, I've had black eyes. Yes, I've had to do this. So I know it works well, but you can also substitute lavender and rose. Rose is so good for our skin anyway. I spray rose on my face every day. So it's so good for our skin. It helps perforate those cells to come back and to take that blackness out of your eye. But again, don't open the eye and don't squeeze any of that into your eye, because it'll burn like wildfire. Okay, any questions on the black eye? Okay. Bleeding. There's several different types. So if you just have a small open wound, you can apply a compress of geranium, lavender, and chamomile. And you can apply it over it, and it will calm it down. It will stop the bleeding. You can also use hyssop, cypress, and rose. Now, if it's bleeding profusely, and if you're way up here like we are, I have capsicum everywhere. So have you ever taken a capsicum tablet and opened it? Okay. When I had a really bad cut, and it burns like wildfire, it really burns, but you open the capsicum and you pour it right on the cut, and it'll seal it just like that. It'll stop the bleeding immediately. It burns, Lordy, it burns. And then you get the bleeding to stop, and then you go back and you do this and you wrap it. And then the next day, it looks a lot better. It's amazing what these oils can do. Do you have any questions here?
Is capsaicin an oil?
Capsicum is an herb.
Okay.
It is an herb. It's a red herb, and they've utilized it for centuries for bleeding. I'm not so sure it doesn't come from, if I'm not, from grinding down those red flakes, kind of like that. It's like a sear. So you can take capsicum for heart, for bleeding internally. There's so many reasons you can take capsicum, but we'll talk about those in another time. But it works really, really well, but it burns. And I do mean it burns. And you can, if you can't get it to stop with one, open another one and pour it on, depending on the big. Now, if it's too big and too deep, you need to put this over it and you need to go get stitches. Now, some people even apply now to themselves with the glue and hold it together and allow that to seal it without getting stitches. I'm not a doctor, so I won't do that. But I have done that. You can do what you want on yourself, right? Okay, nosebleeds. Do you remember the old wives' tale of where they used to tell you to put a penny, you know, you have this little drop right here, to put a penny right here and push it really hard and it'll stop your nosebleed? Did you ever do that when you were a child? Oh man, my grandma did it all the time to us when we got bloody noses. The penny didn't taste good, but it did work. But people think you need to hold your nose down here. You need to hold your nose up here at the bridge. And I do mean squeeze that bridge. And you want to lie back, but you don't want to be swallowing that blood. But what you can do on a piece of tissue is put 1 drop of lavender, 2 drops of lemon, and 2 drops of eucalyptus, and breathe it in and allow it to seal that bleeder. Now, some people have to have their nose packs because they have to have it cauterized. It depends on what kind of nosebleed it is. Okay. And if you don't have these, you can, again, rosemary, cypress, and rose. Rose is so beautiful for so many things. Any questions here? Does that make sense? Kind of an odd thing, isn't it? Now, bleeding gums. When you have bleeding gums, usually you need to go see your dentist. Your teeth could be loose, your gums could be infected, you may need a root canal. You know, there can be many things going in with our gums. Washing your mouth out with salt water is very good, but you can also make up a mixture by adding a tumbler of warm water and using this stuff as mouthwash. And it doesn't taste very good, but it works. So you can use lemon, lavender, and eucalyptus. And you can put them all in this mouthwash and just spit it out. Do not swallow. You'll probably be throwing up if you swallow. You can also use tea tree, cypress, and again, rose. If the bleeding does not stop, you do need to go to the doctor. It's not anything to mess with our gums. Does that make sense? Okay. Now, blisters. Everybody gets a blister from a shoe or a blister from this, a blister from that. Everybody gets a blister. Please do not pop your blisters. I have seen so many people that have popped blisters and they come in with a big hole and it's very infected. So please don't do that. They can pop on their own, but please don't do that. So what you can do to blisters is you can apply right on top of it 1 drop of lavender oil straight on it, neat, and 1 drop of chamomile. And you just pat it on there and you let it sit. If you need to cover it for you don't mess with it, then do so. But don't pick at it, don't pop it. And you can utilize tea tree, lemon, or myrrh in exchange for these. Again, muscle test what is good. Because like I said, some medications don't go with some of these herbs. Do you have any questions here? Okay. Now this is blisters from burns and scalds. And again, don't pierce anything. Lavender works beautiful with burns. You put it on the blister and then you hold a piece of ice cube on there for about 10 minutes. Except I would suggest an ice pack, not just an ice cube. And cover it with a clean, sterile gauze and repeat it 3 times a day. And you will see it dissipate and get smaller and smaller. Now you may need to do it longer than 3 days, but you can use it for 3 days. And if one of these don't work, if you see it getting streaks, if you see it getting redder, if it's got a fever, use tea tree and eucalyptus and go to the doctor. Okay. Because you can get infected really bad. Is there any questions here? Okay. Now, boils are the same thing as the others. Don't pop them. I saw a man who popped his on his chest, and by the time he came to us, it was so infected. It was not funny. We had to put him in the hospital on IV antibiotics. Why he thought he had to pick and pick and pick. And I don't even remember how he got the boils all over his chest, but it was awful. And it really smells when it bursts like that. So you want to bathe the area with 2 drops of lavender and 2 drops of tea tree, because that tea tree is got so many beautiful functions to it. If the inflammation is really, really bad, you want to put a drop of chamomile in with that diluted warm water. So you want to drop these all in that water, and you want to drop them neat. You can use a toothpick, whatever you need to mix them with, or even a cotton ball. And you can bathe the area a couple times a day, and you can muscle test whether you can do it more often. It's all in the muscle testing and the intention of what you need. And you can switch out these for lemon, thyme, and oregano. Oregano works great. And remember, with some of these herbs, these essential oils, these things are going on. You can also, while you're trying to fight this, you can put them around your belly button, 4 or 5 drops around the belly, run it clockwise, and it'll start working there, and it'll go throughout the whole body. So it'll stop any infections that's going anywhere else. It works marvelously. Now, burns, I've seen many burns, and they're just not fun to mess with. So if you get burnt, depending on what you get burnt with and how severe the burn is, you want to apply ice water for at least 10 minutes, because you've got to get it on there right away to bring the swelling down. If it swells too fast, it's going to be very painful. Then immediately after that, put on the 2 drops of lavender neat. And if you can, very lightly with your fingers. And then add lavender on a dry, sterile cloth and cold compress it over the area and wrap it. And that will allow the burn to dissipate, and repeat it as often as necessary. Now, with cigarette burns, you put the lavender directly on it. I've seen, y'all know I worked in the doctor's office, and I would see little kids being brought in by abused parents that would burn their children with their cigarettes. And it was disgusting what they did to them. And I had oils at the doctor's office, and we were able to help them. But remember, burns, lavender. As soon as there's a burn, get lavender out. Okay, lavender is your best bet. So chapped skin. We've all had chapped skin in our life. So you want to make up the following oil and massage it over that oil over that area. Pardon me. Now, a lot of people like using the extra virgin olive oil when they have chapped skin, but I like using the raw coconut oil. It is greasy, yes, but it has so many rich things with coconut oil. So you want to add 10 drops of geranium, 10 drops of chamomile, 3 lemon, and 5 lavender. And you just want to mix it in this paste, and you just take enough on your fingernails, on your fingers, and just rub. And you always want to go clockwise. And within a few days, that chapped skin's going to be gone. And it'll be nice and soft. I make up for my face because it kind of helps at night. We need a little bit of moisture added in there, right? As we get older. Okay, are there any questions here? Okay. Now, cold sores. I don't know if everybody's ever had one, but I get them often because I take too much vitamin C and because I'm too stressed. So when you have cold sores, you can start to feel the tingle right away. You can feel it kind of buzzing inside your lip. It's just, you can just detect that little feeling. Immediately take 1 drop of geranium and pop it on there, or tea tree. I use tea tree with mine too. And then you want to massage your whole body because it's a fungus. So in a vat, in one of these little bottles, you would mix up geranium 10 drops, lavender 10 drops, thyme 2, and lemon 8. Now, if you don't want to use this size, you can use a bigger size, a 5 ml or a 10 ml. But you can also substitute it with tea tree, oregano, and cinnamon. But you want to start at the bottom and come up when you massage. Always bring it up. And you can substitute it. Cinnamon works really good, but if you utilize it like with little kids, they lick it off because it does taste good. The tea tree, not so much. And the oregano, you can put it around the belly button again and the tree tea to help fight that fungus. Because we can always remember it goes everywhere. And again, mix it with that coconut oil. So common colds. So many people today can't tell if they've got a cold or if they've got this or if they've got this. There's just too much stuff out there. But what you can do for just a common cold, in a hot bath, make sure you add your Epsom salts and then drop in 2 drops of tea tree, 2 drops of thyme, and 3 drops of lemon, and just soak for 20 minutes. Allow the smell to envelope you and to bring that out. Now, you probably will get a fever as it comes out. You can get diarrhea as it comes out. Make sure when you take an Epsom salt bath, you make sure you utilize more hydration and make sure you're getting also your electrolytes in there, because it will pull those from you. So you can use, this is the steam inhalation method, or you can use a diffuser and put it in the diffuser and have it blowing throughout the whole house. Okay. Or you can put it on cotton balls around the house or under your pillow to help you breathe it through the night. And you can also massage these drops. And if they can't use these, use thyme, tea tree, or lavender, or even clove. You can massage around the chest, the neck, the sinuses, up here and down here. But again, do not get in your eyes, and go in front of your ear, behind your ear, and go all the way down, because these are all lymph, and this is where the vagus nerve is also. And remember, your lymph under here, your lymph here, your lymph is throughout your entire body. So when you massage all over, it will hit those lymphs, and then those lymphs will dissipate. Now, if they are swollen, you can milk your lymphs, but make sure you're not putting too much pressure, because you can bruise them. But you can literally milk them, and it will release that toxin out of your lymph glands. Has anybody ever taught y'all about milking your glands? Have you ever heard that before?
I've heard about it.
You've heard about it. Okay. Just don't be rough with it. Just be really soft, and it'll pull it right out. And it'll give you like a pop, and it's a really nasty taste as it comes out, as the poison comes out or the toxins come out, but it works really, really well. So this will help with common colds. Is there any questions with this one? Okay. Now, an earache. We've all had earaches before, and we can pull out the imbalance that is causing the earache, because there can be several imbalances through the eustachian tubes, through our sinuses, with the eardrum, with the stapes, with the meniscus. There can be many different reasons to have an earache. But what you can do, because have you ever seen the candles that they pour the wax in, pull the wax out, ear candles? Excuse me. If you're going to use an ear candle, please be very, very careful and know what you're doing, and pull it out straight when you're done, when it hardens, because if it drops out, you're going to have to go to the doctor and they're going to have to fish it out. So remember, for example, a warm teaspoon of olive oil, and add just 1 drop of lavender and chamomile, and then mix it inside that little thing and drop 1 drop, and then put a cotton ball. Or if you don't want to put it directly in your ear, because I don't like putting things directly in my ear, I put it actually on a cotton ball, swish it up, and stick it in. In the olden days, what we used to do, in the olden days, when I was a kid, what we used to do, and I still do, is remember how they open the cotton ball up and put the pepper balls in there, twist it shut, stick it in, the pepper will burn that earache out. It works. Amazingly so, it works. Whoever figured that pepper could do that? Okay, frozen shoulders. Frozen shoulders can often be eased by the use of a fibrocystis. Doggone it. We get frozen shoulders. Sorry. We get frozen shoulders when we have an injury and we don't move that part of our body. And usually it's the shoulder, but other areas can get frozen, and it's just from not using it. And it literally is frozen. So have you ever heard of arning cabbage leaves? It works beautifully. Set the iron on low. You want to peel out those outer ones, and you want to arn them and get them warm for the enzyme and the vitamins can be released. And then you place in 3 drops of clove, 3 drops of chamomile, 3 drops of thyme, and you put it on the area. You wrap it with an ace wrap and leave it overnight. And you can do this for how many nights? You can leave it on for 24 hours until it releases it. But make sure you go in and release the imbalances while you're working on it. There can be many that can cause a frozen shoulder, like a torn rotator cuff, surgery, and nobody wants to move their arm, so they don't move it. Melissa, maybe you can say more about this, hon.
Yeah, that can help.
I can barely hear you, babe.
Can you hear me now?
Yep, now I can hear you.
That does happen a lot with surgery and injuries. That can be pretty common.
Mm-hmm. And do you can utilize since you're an acupuncturist, you can actually put in needles and this would dissipate within a
Curse can
couple
cause that.
frozen
right?
shoulders.
Mhm.
They can cause a lot of damage. Okay, headaches. Now we have general headaches that you just have a doggone headache. It can be from food, it can be from stress, it can be from worry, it can be from you're tired, it can be, there's thousands of reasons. If you can remove the imbalance, please do. But if you cannot get it to dissipate 100%, you want to massage from around the temples, around the base of the neck, and as it goes up in the back. And you want to do it with 1 drop of each of the following. And again, they put it in with the vegetable oil. But again, I like using the cold pressed virgin olive oil or coconut oil. And you just wrap the lavender and the peppermint in there and you can feel it. And when you do that, also, when you have the headache, you want to press in on the back of your spine. You want to bring it out 3 inches all the way down. And you want to bring it to here and then bring your shoulder here. If you grab it and pull it across to your waist and allow this energy to be reset. Okay. And remember, don't get this in your eyes. Now, gastric headaches are caused from overeating, from not eating the proper foods, or eating something we shouldn't have ate. So any type of wrong food. So you can mix 1 drop of peppermint with a teaspoon of honey dissolved in a glass warm of water and sip it. I just put peppermint around my belly button, or papaya mint, or stomach comfort to help release that. And then for the massage of the back of the neck, again, for the gastric is rosemary, peppermint, and lavender. But make sure that they're not on any medications for a headache, for migraines, for anything like that. Some of these oils do not go well with migraine medicine. Now, this is a nervous headache, and I'm sure we've all gotten this before. So on the top of your crown chakra, drop 1 drop of chamomile and 3 drops of lavender. I put them on my finger before I put them on my crown. And you just want to rub it in, and it's where the indentation goes down is where you want to rub. And you want to rub, massage over your solar plexus clockwise, dilute it in a little bit of virgin olive oil, 1 teaspoon, geranium, lemon, and lavender. And I would take it backwards and then run it forwards for you're changing the energy again to dissipate that nervous headache. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
Okay. Okay. Influenza. But we seem to not be able to get away from. There are so many identifiable imbalances with what they consider the flu. If you're shivery and cold and feeling the onset of something coming on, something more, then take a warm bath with Epsom salts where you add tea tree 5 drops, lavender 2 drops, and thyme 2 drops. Now, if you don't have them all, that's okay. Utilize what you can. And again, muscle test to make sure it's not too much. And then massage your whole body when you get out with 2 drops of tea tree and 3 drops of eucalyptus in a carrier oil, and start again from the feet and come up. Don't forget the bottom of those feet, and put socks on to hold that oil in and to bring it all the way up, and allow your body just to relax, and make sure you stay very well hydrated. And you can also pull this virus out. You can see if the virus is vibrating. Is it vibrating in stage 1? Is it vibrating in stage 2? Is there another underlying imbalance or a trauma energy that caused the influenza? Was it stress? What had this occur? So you can pull those out and then work with this. And then that allows that to be able to be evened out and equaled. And it'll help you feel better and become more at ease and feel a little bit relaxed. And now you're going to smell, but that's okay. We love the smell of oils. I don't know what I'd do if I didn't smell like oils every day. Is there any question here? Because I want you to be really careful with this. And muscle test, it's very important, because if it's one of the other things, that's another call for something else, but I didn't put that stuff on here. So neuralgia, this is something I've been suffering with for years, and so many people do. It is when our nerves are not functioning properly and not firing. So the numbing and the burning and the tingling is very much not very nice to deal with at times. So over the area, we rub it down with ice. My body can't handle the ice on my neuralgia. It just will not. And it doesn't relieve the pain for me. It makes it greater. So make sure you test and ask them what works best for them. Some people like heat on the neuralgia. A TENS unit works well on neuralgia. Alyssa working on you with acupuncture works awesome. I will tell you that. So with this, you can make up a massage oil of lavender, chamomile, and clove into, and I wouldn't use coconut oil for this one. I would use extra light virgin olive oil, because you want, well, there's other carrier oils also, but you want to be careful what you're doing. Muscle tests. There's wheat germ oil. There's eucalyptus oil. There's like 15 or 20 different carrier oils, but make sure you test for what one works best for you or for your client. If the face is affected, leave out the clove and implement with rosemary, because you can have neuralgia anywhere present in your body. Now you want to go in again and relieve, and you're going to have to keep going in and keep going in, because neuralgia is not going to dissipate with one session. I've been working on mine for 7 years and it's still not gone. So please be careful with your clients, give them love and the support that they need, because they're going to get really frustrated. Because remember that neuralgia can also move to the other appendage. It can climb up the body. It can mirror anywhere. So if it is mirroring, ask, do I have a mirror neuron present that is making this come up in other areas? If it is, find each mirror and break that mirror, literally with intention. Break the mirror so it can't keep copying it, because it will. Does that make sense? Have you ever heard of mirror neurons? We have mirror neurons throughout our body, and they are like little mirrors. And let's take a cell per se, that a cell is deformed. It will mirror that deformed cell and send it elsewhere in your body to deform another cell. So when you're working with different things, ask if there is a mirror neuron, neuron, that is in place here. Ask if the master cell has reset the somatic nervous system and the central nervous system. And if it hasn't, then reset that master cell to be able to allow the others to flow like they should. Does that make sense? What, Barb? Talk to me.
It's so much.
It is, hon. That's why we learn with knowledge and love and just keep going, because the more we learn, the more we evolve, and it takes us up higher and higher and higher, and it just spouts out the top of our head because, you know, we know it that quick and it's just automatic. I promise it will happen. After this many years of doing it, it will, I promise. Okay, any more questions about neurology, neuropathy? Because neuropathy is difficult to release and get rid of. And it's caused by so many things, but usually it's a break or a trauma energy. So when you're working on neurology, let me go back. When you're working on this, also make sure there's not a despair anchor, there's not a discordant energy, there's not a trauma energy, not one of the chakras being affected, or one of the meridians. Is the yin and yang actually happy within this? Or are the energy reserves for this not functioning both at 100% and together? Because once you bring them both up, are they both functioning together or are they functioning separately? If they're not functioning together, you need to remove what's not allowing them to function together and allow them to function together. Everything's got to work together. With some of this neuropathy, sometimes, Alyssa, catch me if I'm wrong here. With some of this neuropathy, the nerve actually necroses, but through acupuncture, she can bring it back and it can revive itself. When you hear from the doctors, it's never going to get well. It's never going to get well. You're going to suffer with this the rest of your life. No, you're not. I believed it for 3 years. I won't ever believe it again. It can go away. It can be helped. Okay, let's go on. Palpitations. We all know what tachycardia is, heart palpitations. So if you're going through this at this time, you would put on a tissue 2 drops of lavender, drop of chamomile, and 2 drops of geranium. And I mean, you want to breathe it in, hold it to 4, let it out slow. Breathe in 10 times and let them out slow. Hold yourself and just bring the peace and allow that white light to come through. And if it doesn't calm down, you can massage the whole torso. But also, if you have tachycardia, there may be other reasons why you have tachycardia, and you need to talk to your doctor. Your thyroid can cause you to have tachycardia. Being upset can have you to have tachycardia. Your aorta not functioning properly can make you have tachycardia. But if it's just normal, you're used to having palpitations. If you get upset, you overwork, you can rub down your whole torso. And I've got a bottle made up of this because I have them now. Lavender 10 drops, chamomile 10 drops, rosemary 3, and lemon 7. You can also put this in a bathtub and allow you to dissipate back with the Epsom salts, lavender Epsom salts, and put 2 drops of chamomile and lemon in there, and just breathe, breathe, and let it out. Breathe and let it out. But muscle test. And remember, when you're using these in your bathtub, it will make your bathtub slick. So make sure you wash your bathtub well. I don't want anybody falling. Is there any questions here? Now, if you need to go in and find out what the palpitations are, you can remove those first. Always do that first. So what is the underlying reason? Is it mental? Is it physical? Is it emotional? Or is it spiritual? And then you can get a percentage of it. What percent is the heart functioning at? And then you would ask, how much is the mental functioning at? How much is the physical? How much is the spiritual? How much is the emotional? And then you get your percentage. Then you go in and you remove the imbalances and bring each one of them up to 100%. And then you ask if all four are working together as one. And if it's not, then you need to go back and remove what's not allowing them to work as one. And usually it's terror or fear. Grief can even do it, but those are usually what I find. Any questions? I know I'm throwing a lot at you. Shock. I don't know if you've ever seen anybody in shock to recognize what shock is. There's so many apropos to this. It can be treated like for fainting, but shock, the person will become very pale, very pasty, and they'll have like a very humdrum, dull look on their face. They're just like, oh, I can't handle this. And it can shock the body. We have physical shock, physical, emotional shock in our bodies all the time. And when shock occurs, it can also take the dual spirit of the physical and the spirit and tear it. Whether spirit tears the spirit from the physical or the physical from the spirit. And you need to put them in one way and you need to put it in back the other way. So you can ask if there's a torn reason. But you can also, before you go to bed, massage your body down with lemon, geranium, and lavender. If you can't utilize those, valerian is excellent, but sometimes it's too much for some people and they have a reaction to the valerian and it doesn't go with a lot of medication. So be very careful. Valerian is very toxic. And rose and basil. Now I've put them around my belly button when I've been in shock before and it'll pull you right out of it. It'll make you gasp and you're going, okay, I'm back with the world now. Okay. So that can happen. You can also do it with the essential oils underneath your nose, wave them and get that air out there so they can smell it and shock themselves back. Their bodies will take over when you faint and your body will know exactly what to do. Do you have any questions about this one? Okay. Thank you. Was that a lot to throw at you? Thank you so
Oh,
much for attending. That was a lot. Well, I wanted to make sure you knew. I mean, I could have gone on for hours and hours and hours about different essential oils that could help. And I need to do this with herbs with you all also, for you can understand all the different parts of the herbs and what all they do. So I will do that at another time. But I thought it was important that since we're using so many essential oils more now than we ever have before, that y'all needed to know a little more information about just some little things that could help. There are big things that can also occur with essential oils, but it works so beautifully. Essential oils are unique. So any questions about any of it? Because I threw a lot at you. Did the printouts help?
Yes, now we can print those off.
You betcha.
Okay.
Yep. You probably should have beforehand. I think I put print out for class so you can write them and take notes. But you can watch this since you're part of it. You can go in and watch it anytime to get it. Okay, so let's just, if any other questions, Jeff, do you have any questions?
No, not at all.
Okay, Barb,
No?
Alyssa?
No,
Okay, beautiful. Then let's go ahead and let's just bow our heads and give thanks because we always want to give thanks. In the name of the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit. Holy Father, we give you such great thanks and such gratitude for placing these oils and these herbs in our possession that you made for us to utilize to help our bodies be well. We thank you for each soul that is here with us. And we thank you for each soul who will watch after. We thank you for bringing us together of like-minded. And we ask that you grace each one of us. And we thank you for the humility and the love that you give to us. Thank you. Amen.
Amen.
Amen.